In this video, we are going to be learning all about getting started with Nuxt.JS, the intuitive Vue framework. So what is Nuxt? Nuxt is an open source framework that makes web development intuitive and powerful. It's actually built on top of the Vue.js framework. So if you don't know how to do Vue, I suggest going to check out my video on Vue. The link is down below in the description, and then come back to this video because it will really help you get an understanding of what's going on and why we're doing this. Also, there's a prerequisite of having Node.js installed, so this works. I have a tutorial on that too. The link will be in the description in case you need to get up to speed with Node.js or just get Node.js installed. Other than that, we can get started with this. So just to mention as well that Vue.js Nuxt.js adds on top of Vue and it basically enhances the file-based routing. It adds in better layouts, and it also offers server-side rendering, which obviously allows you to render on the server side and then post pre-made things, which really helps with SEO and meta, which if we scroll down here, you can see they have a use SEO where you can add titles and descriptions for each component or page. You're able to come in here and as you can see, you've got static or dynamic, depending on how you want it. You can have it statically generated, or you can have it dynamically generated on the server side, which still gives you that benefits of the SEO and stuff like that, or you can go static and have it all rendered out. And here's just some of the features that make it, which it adds on top of obviously Vue.js, which is really nice. And yeah, that's what Nuxt.js is. Let's actually get on with setting up your first Nuxt.js project. So I currently have a VS Code open up here, Visual Studio Code open up in a folder. If you can use whatever IDE or whatever platform application of your choice, I'm going to use VS Code because I think it's easier, and I've got extensions to help, such as Folar. If we type in Vue here, Futer and Vue, which also I think was called Folar, helps with Nuxt.js. So let's actually get started. So the first thing we want to do is run a new Nuxt program. So this is I'm going to be using npm for this, which is using node-based project management essentially. And I'm going to say npm create, and now we're going to say create a Nuxt, and now we can give it a project name. So you could say here project name, and it would create a folder inside tutorial called project name. However, for this tutorial, we're actually just going to do a dot. Now that's going to create a folder. That's going to actually use the current folder. So it's going to use the tutorial folder as its project name. It's just easier for me. You can give it a name and actually generate a new folder. I just like to have it all in this folder I've got open. So once you hit this, let it run. It should run through. And we should be able to start our project. So here it's going to ask, we need to install the following packages. Create Nuxt at 3.23.1. I'm just going to hit Y, enter, and that's going to create that there. And as you can see, we get this nice little graphic. It's going to ask us if we want to override the current directory's contents. Because there's nothing actually in here, that's fine. We can actually hit enter, and it's going to do that. Now it's going to ask which package we want to use, and I prefer to stick to old classics, which is npm. I'm just going to use npm as our package manager, which should install all the files and dependencies we need. All right, guys, while that is running, I just want to say you can support the channel and all the tutorials I do by heading over to the patreon.com/Tyler Potts, and it will bring you to my Patreon page where you can support the channel and become a member. You can also get access to source code of past projects we have built. So we've got the Notes app on here and also the Vue.js for beginners. And once I finish with this tutorial, the Nuxt.js will also be on here as well for you to download. You can also get the full collection of source code by purchasing this one time, and you'll get access to all future source code in this collection. And you can also become a member to get access to different perks. You can become a supporter, which gets you access to general support and exclusive content. You also get access to source code and shop discounts if you become a coding apprentice. And if you become a coding wizard, you'll also get access to the live streams in the future and some exclusive content to Coding Wizard. All of this, though, just supports me making more videos on the YouTube channel. So if you enjoy them and you want to support the channel, you can by coming over here. I'll leave the link in the description. Anyway, let's crack on with the rest of the video. All right, guys, so it's asking me now if I want to initialize a Git repository. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select no just for this project because we don't actually need it. I'm not going to be publishing this to GitHub or any repository. and it's going to ask if you want any modules. Now, usually I would probably select something like fonts, icon, and maybe even content if I'm building something for blog. But for this tutorial, I'm just going to leave the basics. I'm just going to hit enter and allow it to just run as it is. Now, to start our project, all we have to do is run this command here, npm run dev inside of our folder. If you gave your folder a different name, you'll have to cd into that directory and run the command in there. And you're going to see it's going to give us this Nuxt. However, this is loading right here. So this, until it's actually set up, it will keep running. It should basically tell us when it's done, and then this should show us the base website. All right, guys, now while we're waiting for this to warm up, as you can see here, it's actually starting to get set. Actually, there you go. It's actually set up. And this is the Welcome to Nuxt starter you get here. So you can see it tells you about modules, examples, documentation. It gives you everything you need to get started here. But we're going to quickly run through the file structure of this. So first things first, I want to talk about the current structure here. So you're going to see we have a few different things. Now, the main thing you're going to want to look at first is the nuxt.config.ts TypeScript, which is here. Now, you can see here it's essentially a JSON being passed into a export here, which is used to say if you want to enable DevTools. So if you can see at the bottom of this page, there's this little DevTools here. We can turn this off if we want to by setting this to false. And then we can also add in more stuff here to configure it here. There's actually a docs on configuring it here, but for now, we're going to leave this at its base. We also have the app.view, which is actually the root file you'll be putting your markup in, all your functionality that will go in here. So if we delete this Nuxt welcome and just put a H1 and say hello world, hit save, go back, you'll see we just have a basic hello world. So this Nuxt root announcer here is, you can remove this if you want to, but it adds a hidden element with the page title to announce root changes to assistive technology. So this helps other technologies actually function. So I'm just going to leave it in there for now, and we'll do the rest of our stuff underneath here. Now, the next folder you might have noticed is Surfer. Now, you can actually create server-side logic straight in Nuxt, which is something you can't do in standard Vue.js. Server-side, you can add basically a Node.js setup inside of here where you can have some roots that do specific things. You could have your environment keys and that all stored. So if you need to, let's say, connect to Stripe for a paid service or something, you can actually set that up to have an endpoint that you can call inside the server that runs the function for you. Or if you're connecting to a database or something, you can do it all through the server side here. Another folder you may be familiar with from other platforms is the public folder. The public folder allows you to add anything in here and make it publicly available so we can see it. So we can come here, go back to Nuxt and go to /robots.txt, and that will give us the robots.txt file, which is currently empty. If we just put test in here, you can see it gives us that file there, and everything in here is public. You'll put your images, anything you don't need to be dynamic can go inside the public folder. This is your static file system area, basically. Now, the rest of these aren't necessarily needed. The output is just where it publics output. You've got the nuxt.nuxt, which is what allows the server, the dev server to all run. And the node modules are obviously the packages we use. Now, another folder we will be creating will be a pages folder, which allows us to have multiple pages. We'll add in a components folder, which will allow us to have multiple components. And we can also add in a layouts folder in this tutorial to allow us to have layouts. Now, I explain these later on in the video, but these are all different folders that we're going to be going over today. Just to note, though, there is many more folders you can create in here that hold different things like the middleware and some other different authentication stuff you can set up in here as well. But for now, we're going to keep it simple. I'm teaching you the basics of Nuxt.js, and we're going to stick to, obviously, the Nuxt side of things, the simplest stuff. So first thing I'm going to do is we're going to set up a page here that allows us to have multiple pages. So I'm going to create a new file, and we're going to put this in the pages folder, and I'm going to call it index.vue. Now, this is going to be our home page, the /. The nice thing about Nuxt routing or Nuxt routes is that it will automatically generate your page structure or your URL structure based on your pages folder structure. So index will be your /root, But if we was to put in here either a folder called about with an index.view in it, it would then be /about, or I can just do an about.view file as well. And if we went to /about, that would render this view. However, it's not going to do anything just yet because we're not telling the root file app.view to actually render anything. We're just telling it to render hello world. To render our pages, we need to actually pass through Nuxt page. Now, this is a component that we do not need to import. So if you're coming back from a Vue.js background, normally you import components. However, Nuxt.js does it for you. You never have to import any component, even your custom components you make. You can just reference them here and it'll automatically compile what it needs to compile when you export or distribute this page. So now anything in index inside of the template view, we can have I'm going to give this a section, or actually a main, and we're going to just put a h1 called hello world, again, hello world home, just so we know it's the home page. And now we can also add a template in here, which is going to have a main and it says about. There we go. Nice and simple. If we come back here, you see it says hello world home. And if we go to /about, we don't have to do any extra configuration. It does it all for us. About page is ready to go. That makes Nuxt so much more quicker because in Vue.js, you actually have to configure each route with a name, a component, and all of that. But this makes it so much easier, so much quicker to do. Which is nice. And it basically renders everything here. So we could have a nav bar above this, a nav, and we could say navigation up here. Now, if we go back, you can see we have the navigation here on both our pages. So this is kind of way of doing a layout. So all your pages will have a layout here and be able to come here. So let's just quickly add in a URL. And we're going to use something called the Nuxt link component, and this is essentially an internal link or route to change pages. So we're going to have here / which is going to be our home route, and we're going to have an about. So if we go back, you can see we can now switch pages by clicking this here, and this is on every single page. However, let's say you have a page that doesn't need the nav bar. So you're creating a page that doesn't require the nav bar. Let's say the home page doesn't necessarily require the nav bar, the about page does. We can actually get into something called layouts, which will allow us to create custom layouts per our page. So although we want certain pages to have a specific layout and some of them to have a different layout, we can actually do that in Nuxt, and we'll get into that in a moment. Just before I do that, though, I want to quickly give you a little rundown of another thing we could do. So I'm going to create a posts page or posts folder inside of our thing, and I'm going to create a file called id.view. Now this is going to be a dynamic route. So if we go to template and we just create post, we can actually go to our script and make this a setup. In fact, we don't even need the setup for this. We can just go straight into our post and we can pass in the ID from here. So we could render a post. We could say root.params.id, which is what the name ID would be here, to render it to the page. So if we save this and we go back to our page, we can actually go to /posts. Is it post or post? I don't remember what name. Posts /1. And you can see it gives us post 1. Now we can put anything here, test, and it will use this as a parameter to our page. Now you can take this a step further and create multiple parameters in here. So you could have test, you could have a group here, post hyphen, and it would be group name. And then you could have the ID as well. But I'm not going to show you that today. I want to keep it simple and just set it up here. Now, if you go to, let's say, just /post, there's a 404 page. And it's going to take you here. Now, you can customize this page and create a custom one, but it has it set up as well, just so you're aware. So this is all the basic stuff I wanted to go over, just home and about. Now, I want to go into a bit more detailed stuff, and let's actually create a layout. So in here, you can see we have this nav bar, but let's say on the home page, we don't want this nav bar. We only want it on the about page because for some reason we don't want it there. Or we want a different type of nav bar for the home page because we have a feature header. Well, let's just go over how we would do that. The first things first, let's delete this nav bar from here and let's wrap our Nuxt page in a Nuxt layout. So now we've wrapped it in a Nuxt layout, we will be able to pull a layout to assist this. So let's create a layouts folder. So we'll create layouts. And inside of here, we're actually going to have default.view. And we're going to add a template in here, which is just going to have, let's say, a div to wrap it all in. We're then going to have our navbar, which is going to have the Nuxt links. And we're going to say /home. And Nuxt link /about, and then we're going to have our slot. Now the slot, not like that, I prefer to do a single. A slot is going to be where the page is rendered, so the page is going to be rendered here under our navbar. And if we save this and go back, you can see we should get the right layout. So you can see the navbar still here. We could change this Nuxt layout to have something else that says test above it. And you can see it adds in the test. The default layout is what will be rendered first, basically. But let's say we want a custom layout to go with this. Also, let's add a footer to this and just call it my website footer, just so we have it, because this is probably something else you would have. You would have a navigation and a footer. Let's create a new custom.view layout, which is going to be a template. And on this page, we're going to have, again, another div just to wrap it in. And instead of having a navbar, we're going to skip the navbar, and we're just going to have a, let's just say a div, which just, or maybe a h3 that says my homepage, just to change it up. Obviously, you would do something more fun than what I'm doing, which is pretty boring. But you're going to notice this doesn't work. We've still got the standard home, the default one, because it is the default one. So how do we set a page to have a custom layout? Well, we use something called define page meta. So let's go to our index.view, which is our home page. We want to create our script setup. So we're going to say setup JavaScript. So a script setup, and I'm just going to say define page meta, and we can pass in a layout. Now in here, we're going to say custom, and this is just going to be the name of what your Vue file is. We can save this, and if we go back, you can see it says my homepage. But now we don't have a link to the About Us page. But if we do just go to it, you'll see it brings us here, which has our original layout. So you can see the power of Nuxt.js already from this simple, very basic application. Nothing's really happening here, but it's just pretty cool to have. Now, if you want the default layout not to be the default layout, which I know sounds odd, but inside of our app, we can actually pass in a name, and we could set this to custom by default. Actually, this should just be name, not with that. And now, if we go to the /about page, you can see it actually has the custom layout set up. However, for this, we don't want this. I'm just going to remove this. It's just something you could do if you wanted to have a custom one. It makes the default.view useless technically, but you know, in case you want to just name them specifically, let's say you had a homepage layout and then you had everything else, and you just wanted you could do it. It depends how you want your structure to be. I don't see why you would use it, but you could. I'm not doubting there's a use case for it. There's definitely a use case. I just don't see it, if I'm being honest. But yeah, so that's a way of doing layouts inside of Nuxt.js. Now, the final thing I want to come on is components. Now, we've covered components inside of what you would call, let's say, Vue.js in the Vue.js tutorial. My brain is not there today, guys. But I want to give you components and show you how you would use them inside of Nuxt, because it is just slightly different. So let's just give us a button.view, you know, the generic component everybody needs. Can we have a template, please? There we go. And in here, we're just going to have a button with a slot, and we're just going to give it a style straight here. I'm not going to be doing CSS too much. We're going to use whatever this is. The Copilot has just given us this. So I don't even know what color this is going to be. It's definitely going to be a more greenish color, but this is what we're going for because it gave us this style anyway. So let's say we want a default style on the button, and this is what we're going to do. Let's go back to our index. Now, normally you would have to import this. However, with the power of Nuxt.js, we can just call button, and I can just pass hello. Oh, gee, we've already got hello world. I keep using hello world. We're going to say my custom button. Save, go back, refresh, and there you go. That's the lovely styled button we've been given by Copilot. Thank you, Copilot. And there it is. You can see here it's a custom button, and we can reuse this component wherever we want. We don't have to import it. We can obviously make multiple of these. My second button. And there you go. You can see they're in line, so it's fine. It looks nice. And there you go. You've got a way of doing buttons. Now, it uses an auto import components feature, so you don't have to manually import. It just saves you the hassle. This is why Nuxt.JS just makes things so much more powerful than just Vue.js. Vue.js is great for a single page application, no doubt. It's quicker just to quickly load up Vue, do a single page application with some functionality that doesn't need SEO. But when you're building client websites that need SEO, but they want some cool features, but they also want it to be quick and fast, Nuxt.js really shines. It's a super powerful tool, and I've used it in real world applications as well. I prefer Nuxt over Vue.js when it comes to bigger projects. Small projects, I'll stick to Nuxt. I don't need all the power of Nuxt. I'll stick to Vue. I don't need all the power of Nuxt.js. But it's just something to know. This is really cool. You can even do authentication and everything you would normally do in here. And that's something we can go over in a future video. So guys, let's just go over what we've done. We've set up a Nuxt.js project. So we've managed to come in here, set up our own Nuxt.js project. We've then done some routing so we can go to different pages. We've also done dynamic routes or parameter-based routes. We've gone over how you can do components and drop them in, how you can do layouts and do custom layouts. So this is a very basic tutorial for Nuxt.js and how to get started with it. It's very beginner friendly, but in the future, if you guys want to learn how you can do pages with API data being pulled in, some composables, use fetch, there's a bunch of different features we do. I can even do some Supabase, some database-based stuff with Supabase, or we could do some authentication as well. Just let me know what you guys would like to see inside of Nuxt.js tutorials in the future. And also, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below. Oh, and obviously, guys, I'm going to be doing a Nuxt.js course on my Patreon in the future, probably in the next month or so. So, guys, if you want to get your hands on that, become a Patreon subscriber. It really helps. It's going to be a Patreon-only video, and I may also do a Patreon-only live stream as well soon, just to start getting those rolling out. So, guys, if you are excited for that, don't forget to go check out the Patreon. And all the links for this will be down below in the video. But, guys, that's going to be it. Thank you for tuning in. I will see you in the next video. Hopefully this helped you out. And, yeah, peace out.